Remember when every new smartphone camera felt like a massive upgrade? One year brought autofocus, the next improved stabilization, and then night mode transformed low-light photography. For years, smartphone cameras evolved at an incredible pace. But today, things feel different. New flagship phones arrive with bigger sensors, smarter AI, and impressive marketing. Yet the actual photo quality often looks surprisingly similar to last year's model. So, have smartphone companies run out of ideas? Or have cameras simply become so good that major improvements are harder to achieve? Let's find out. The biggest reason camera upgrades feel slower is actually a sign of success. Modern smartphone cameras are already incredibly capable. Even mid-range phones can produce sharp photos, good dynamic range, reliable autofocus, and impressive low-light performance. Flagship devices from companies like Apple, Samsung, Google, Xiaomi, and others can capture images that would have seemed impossible just 10 years ago. Back in the early smartphone era, there were obvious problems to solve. Photos were blurry, low-light performance was poor, dynamic range was limited. Colors often looked inaccurate. Each generation fixed major weaknesses. Today, many of those problems have already been solved. When you're starting from a weak camera, a 30% improvement is easy to notice. But when you're already working with one of the best smartphone cameras ever made, achieving another noticeable 30% improvement becomes much more difficult. It's similar to professional sports. Improving from average to good is relatively straightforward. Improving from excellent to world-class is much harder. That's where smartphone cameras are today. One of the biggest challenges camera manufacturers face is something they simply cannot market their way around: physics. Smartphones are incredibly thin devices. Unlike professional cameras, they don't have large lenses or massive image sensors. Everything has to fit inside a slim body that's comfortable to carry in your pocket. Camera quality largely depends on how much light reaches the sensor. Larger sensors collect more light. Larger lenses collect more light. More light generally means better image quality. The problem is that increasing sensor size requires more physical space. Larger lenses also need more room. Manufacturers have already pushed camera modules to the point where many phones have visible camera bumps on the back. There's only so much space available before phones become too thick, too heavy, or too expensive. As a result, engineers are fighting for tiny gains while working within very strict physical limitations. That's a much harder challenge than simply adding more megapixels. For years, smartphone companies competed aggressively on megapixel numbers. 8 megapixels became 12. 12 became 48. 48 became 108, then came 200 megapixel sensors. But here's the reality. More megapixels don't automatically mean better photos. Image quality depends on many factors, including sensor size, lens quality, image processing, dynamic range, and lighting conditions. Most modern smartphones use techniques like pixel binning, where multiple pixels combine into larger virtual pixels to improve light capture and image quality. That's why many 200 megapixel cameras actually output images closer to 12 or 50 megapixels by default. Consumers have become more educated about photography, and manufacturers know that simply increasing megapixel counts no longer creates the dramatic improvements it once did. The industry has moved beyond the megapixel race. Now the focus is on refinement rather than headline numbers. If you've noticed camera launches focusing heavily on AI, computational photography, and image processing, there's a reason. Much of today's camera innovation happens in software. When you press the shutter button, your phone isn't simply taking one photo anymore. Modern smartphones often capture multiple images simultaneously. They combine exposures, reduce noise, improve sharpness, adjust colors, detect faces, and optimize details using complex algorithms. Night mode is a perfect example. Many phones can now produce bright, detailed images in near darkness without dramatically changing the hardware. That's mostly software doing the heavy lifting. Google helped popularize this approach with computational photography, and today, virtually every major manufacturer relies heavily on software processing. The challenge is that software improvements are often less visible than hardware changes. A new lens is easy to advertise. A smarter image processing algorithm is harder for consumers to immediately notice. Innovation is still happening, but it's becoming less obvious. Another reason upgrades feel smaller is because many users simply don't need more camera performance. Think about how people use smartphone cameras today. Most photos end up on social media platforms, messaging apps, or viewed on smartphone screens. In these situations, even a 3-year-old flagship camera often looks fantastic. When photos are compressed and viewed on small screens, the differences between excellent and exceptional image quality become much harder to see. Professional photographers may notice improvements in shadow detail, color accuracy, dynamic range, or zoom performance. Average users often won't. This creates a difficult situation for manufacturers. They continue investing billions in camera research and development, but the visible benefit to everyday consumers becomes increasingly difficult to communicate. The improvements are real. They're just smaller and more specialized than before. Despite all of this, camera innovation isn't ending. It's simply changing direction. Future breakthroughs are likely to come from several areas. Artificial intelligence will continue improving image processing, scene recognition, and video capabilities. Larger sensors may gradually become more common as manufacturers find creative ways to fit them into slim devices. Variable aperture systems could offer more flexibility in different lighting conditions. Periscope zoom cameras will likely continue improving long-range photography. Video recording capabilities are also becoming a major focus, especially as more creators use smartphones as professional production tools. We may also see advances in sensor technology itself, allowing cameras to capture more light without requiring significantly larger hardware. The next major leap may not be a single feature. Instead, it could come from many smaller innovations working together. So why are smartphone camera upgrades slowing down? The answer isn't that companies have stopped innovating, it's that smartphone cameras have reached an incredibly mature stage of development. The obvious problems have already been solved, physical limitations are becoming harder to overcome. Software now drives much of the progress, and most users already have cameras that are more than capable for everyday photography. Ironically, the better smartphone cameras become, the harder it is to make each new generation feel revolutionary. That doesn't mean innovation is dead. It simply means we're entering an era of refinement rather than dramatic transformation. And while the next smartphone camera may not completely change photography overnight, the steady improvements happening behind the scenes are still pushing mobile imaging further than ever before. That's our take and our thoughts on the topic. Now we'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.